This is HANNOVER MESSE Daily, the heartbeat of innovation, industry and ideas. Each morning we bring you the key topics, the voices behind them and a first look at what the day at HANNOVER MESSE has in store. HANNOVER MESSE Daily. Think tech forward.
Hello and welcome to HANNOVER MESSE Daily. We are your hosts Kati Günther
and Christian Buchholz.
And with us today is Kathrin Schmidt, Global Director of HANNOVER MESSE. Together we'll look at today's key topics at the center stage: AI and automation best practices and startup innovation at industry. Hello Kathrin, great to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Kathrin, today's program at the center stage focuses on AI and automation best practices and on startup innovation at industry. What do these two topics tell us about where industry is heading right now?
So these two themes clearly demonstrate the current direction of the industry, moving away from theory and toward the practical, scalable implementation of innovations. AI and automation best practices reflects the fact that companies like Klaas, Merck, and On now consider AI and automation essential parts of their production processes, not future concepts. The focus is on real-world applications such as AI-supported quality assurance, intelligence production control, and automated logistics processes. The key question is no longer whether to invest, but rather how these investments create measurable value and how companies can overcome challenges such as data availability, technology transfer, and establishing long-term structures for innovation. At the same time, startup innovation at industry showcases the growing importance of collaboration in innovation. Established industrial companies are actively collaborating with startups to integrate new technologies, agile thinking, and disruptive solutions more quickly. So in the context of current investment packages and government subsidy programs, strong innovation ecosystems and successful partnerships are critical.
Startups are often bringing radically new ideas into traditional industries. What role do you see these young companies playing in the broader industry landscape, and how does HANNOVER MESSE support that?
Are not just bringing new ideas, but they are rewriting the rules of industrial operations, fostering a more efficient, sustainable, and collaborative business ecosystem. HANNOVER MESSE supports that by offering them the platform to connect with the industry and find new business opportunities and collaboration partners. Here we shine a light on them and also in regards to political delegations and press.
Mm-hmm. And for our listeners who are on the exhibition grounds today, what are your top tips for the most interesting sessions and events that they shouldn't miss at the center stage?
How much time do you have? Actually, kickoff day 4 at center stage is with a free coffee and high-energy robotic dance at 9:55, followed by the keynote Gast Maschmeyer Group, Future Bold, AI and the Entrepreneurial Spirit Powering Germany Tech Evolution at 1:35 to 1:55. And then we will have the panel discussion, Obama and Barack Obama's exclusive video statement, Is Innovation Alone Enough? Why Technology Doesn't Automatically Make the World a Better Place at 2:45 to 3:30. And last but not least, if we talk about highlights, the panel discussion with Verena Pauster, Startup Verband Scaling Innovation Globally, How Ecosystems Drive Industry at 3:45.
Okay, so our second guest on the podcast, Dr. Pablo Erat from Swiss sportswear brand On, is one of today's speakers on the center stage. With him, we will be talking about a revolutionary sports shoe production process. What makes his perspective particularly relevant for today's center stage program?
Pablo Erat's perspective is particularly exciting because he demonstrates how innovation, automation, and sustainability can converge in a transformative way. So with ON's LightSpray technology, the production process is completely transformed. The fully automated high-precision method makes it possible to produce premium sportswear faster, more flexible, and closer to the customer. Their first microfactory in Zurich amplifies how manufacturing can become more agile, cost efficient, and sustainable at the same time. So his keynote is especially relevant for today's center stage because it goes beyond theory. It demonstrates how a bold innovation culture can create an entirely new production model and offers valuable lessons for leaders driving industrial transformation.
And if we look beyond the center stage for a moment, what would you say are the top must-see highlights at the fair for visitors today?
I think it's the opening of FemWorks 2026 and Engineer Women Award at 10 o'clock, and also the startup party at 6 o'clock in Hall 25 at the center stage. We have sponsorship of VDI, and they are organizer with Verena Pauster and Dr. Jochen Köckler. And there's also a very interesting panel discussion in our solution labs, for example, quantum technology and deep tech, the next industrial leap at 2 in Hall 11 Solution Lab B69 Spotlight Stage.
So now let's turn to our next guest to dive deeper into the topic of innovation in industry. I'm with Dr. Pablo Erat, Director LightSpray at Swiss sportswear and performance tech company On. Their new LightSpray technology is more than just a material innovation, it's a full-scale manufacturing revolution that brings sports shoe production into a fully automated process. With Pablo, we will talk about how this idea started, why it can be considered a revolution in manufacturing, and what leaders in other industries might learn from it. Hello, Pablo. Good to have you here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So, as I just mentioned, On has developed an entirely new way of manufacturing sports shoes. So, let's start with the basics. Could you briefly explain what makes LightSpray different? What exactly is new about this technology and why does it matter?
Sure. So maybe even take a step back. I would like to start with emphasizing that On as a company is very strongly innovation driven and very much also focused on running and especially also performance running. So on one side, LightSpray is by far the best performing high performance shoe that we have ever created as a company. But of course, LightSpray goes far beyond that. It's also fundamentally a manufacturing breakthrough. And we believe that with LightSpray, we have the chance at least to positively disrupt the industry as such, as you alluded to in the introduction. And I would like to elaborate a little bit on that because the sportswear industry fundamentally is based on a model that hasn't really changed over the last 50 years, at least not with regards to manufacturing. And if you look at it, manufacturing today is mainly centered around Asia and is also built on a process that is very fragmented, labor intensive, and not really designed for sustainability. And the ground level reality is such that the typical sports shoe is produced out of around 50 different components, which are stitched and glued together in a very labor-intensive process. And it takes about 200 steps in order to produce such a shoe. So one can say that the industry, with regards to manufacturing at least, is frozen in time. And with LightSpray, we are fundamentally changing that. So with LightSpray, we are producing the product in one integrated process, which is fully automated and also digital. And to understand that, at its core, it's a robot with a nozzle and a extruder, and we are spraying a 1.5 kilometer long filament on a last. And by doing that, we are creating a upper for the shoe, which is incredibly light and also robust. And that in itself is a revolution. But of course, our dream is much bigger than that. What we truly aim for is to prove that world-class sportswear can be manufactured at scale, sustainably and economically anywhere in the world. And I think that is the real breakthrough that we are after. And once we achieve that, and I believe we can achieve that within the next few years, we are able to manufacture the products everywhere, very close to our customers, with locally sourced raw materials. And that allows us to radically reduce also the lead times and also become practically independent of vulnerable supply chains. And I think that's a big topic nowadays, right? And also from a environmental point of view, we are able to eliminate waste, to significantly reduce CO2 emissions, and finally also unlock the full potential of circularity, which is a big topic. So long answer, but that in a nutshell is what makes LightSpray truly revolutionary and what inspires us and drives us forward every day.
Yeah, really interesting. So maybe take us back to the beginning of it all. What was the starting point for this innovation? What sparked the idea?
LightSpray was born around 6 years ago, a little bit more, but around 6 years ago. And it all started with a simple but maybe slightly radical question. And that was, what if we could actually spray a shoe instead of assembling it? And it was not born in a high-tech laboratory environment, but it was our original inventor, Johannes, who is also from Germany, by the way, who was inspired by Halloween decoration, and he took a modified hot glue gun and sprayed something like a spider web on a last. And that initial prototype, of course, was very imperfect and not very functional, a little bit crazy, but it showed us something, and that is that there just might be a radically different way to produce sports shoes. So that's how our journey started, and it's been a highly challenging and testing journey for sure, both in terms of innovation, but also now industrialization and really scaling up this technology. And that is the journey and the learning that we are still going through as we speak.
And such an innovation often starts with a leap into the unknown. So, how did your team handle that uncertainty in the early days of LightSpray?
Yeah, you are addressing a very important point, because uncertainty was indeed everywhere, because we were doing something that nobody had done before. We had no playbook that we could rely on. We basically had to create everything from scratch, and we had absolutely no guarantee that it would be successful. So I do think now, in reflecting on the initial years, that there were a few things that we probably did right. And one thing was that we built a new team from scratch. And this team was, and is still today, highly interdisciplinary. So people came from all fields, such as computational engineering, robotics, computational design, some footwear experts as well. And with this team, we were able to look at everything with fresh eyes and fresh minds, and ask all the questions, naive questions that are out there, to question basically, the fundamental assumptions. And I think it's very important when you embark on such a journey that you are not contaminated by what I would call the dominant logic of the industry, but you really take a very fresh perspective on all of that. So that team's setup, I think, was critical for the success. Another element, I would say, was that we were convinced from the outset that we have a maybe once in a generation opportunity to create something very disruptive, something that could contribute to driving a positive change within the industry. And this, of course, was a strong driver, I would say, of our motivation. And this also allowed us to push through that uncertainty that we were facing, all of the challenges, all of the curveballs that came our way. So it was truly that inspiration and that passion that kept us going, despite failing and failing over and over again. And also, I believe that On has a very special culture as well, a culture that truly is embracing innovation, embracing and encouraging people to take risks and to learn, to experiment. And that culture environment, I think, is also something that strongly contributed to the success of this journey. And we call it the explorer spirit within our organization. Of course, it has to be mentioned also that this was very much also driven and supported by the founders. of the company, and they gave us as a team the freedom to explore, to experiment, to fail, to learn. That gave us also security in a sense on this journey, which I think is of fundamental importance. So those are a few elements that allowed us to cope with the uncertainty. And I would almost say that, instead of trying to avoid or escape uncertainty, we almost embraced it in a sense, and not being intimidated by all of those question marks that were painted in the sky, but rather focus on the process itself and try to learn as fast as possible to take those incremental steps forward to get closer and closer to our dream to one day be able to revolutionize this industry.
And amidst all those failures and learnings, there must have been a point when you realized that the idea was really a good one, that it was really a success. So when was that? When did you realize that you really got something there that was sustainable?
Maybe there was not just one point in time, but there were definitely decisive moments, as you are alluded to. I believe one critical element there, a little bit as a context, setting up the context, is that within On we work very, very closely together with our athletes. And it's not just a sponsorship, it's really a deep collaboration. They are part of the product development journey the whole way through. And of course, with LightSpray being such a novel product, this was even more important than ever. So once we had more or less functional prototypes, we immediately started to test those with our athletes, and we received a lot of feedback. And when the prototypes then were improved through thousands of iterations, also the feedback became more and more positive, to a point where athletes started to say, hey, you have to finalize this product because we don't want to compete with any other products and LightSpray products in the future. And I think the real breakthrough came in 2024 at the Boston Marathon when Helen Obiri won the marathon with the first LightSpray ratio. And at that moment, of course, it was a big relief for us, but it also showed us that this is no longer just a concept. This is becoming reality. And with that tailwind and that encouragement of the victory of hers, we also decided then to bring our first robot, which we call Daisy, back in the time to the Paris Olympics, to the largest, arguably the largest stage for athletics in the world. And we produced LightSpray products live in front of the audience. And we were really taken by surprise by the incredible response from the audience and from athletes around the world, not only professional athletes, but also amateur runners. And they all asked the same question, and that is when are we finally going to get a pair of LightSpray shoes? So when that happened, we knew not only that we are able to use LightSpray as a platform to produce the best running shoes in the world, but also we knew that there is a big likelihood that this is going to be a commercial success. So I said these two moments actually made us realize that we really have something very potent in our hands.
And looking ahead, this is not just about sportswear. What broader lessons or maybe principles would you share with other leaders who want to drive innovation in their own industries?
Yeah, so we are still in the middle of the learning journey, right? We are learning every day. And we have reached quite a lot, but nevertheless, we are still humble students, I would say. But indeed, there are some learnings that are starting to become clearer, which I believe could have an impact also on other industries, or at least be valuable also for leaders, across industries, and maybe even to a certain extent be decisive in terms of who wins and who will be left behind. The first learning that I would like to highlight and distill out of our journey is that we should think beyond products, because products can in almost all industries be copied, but what is more difficult to replicate are the systems behind them. So we believe that winners are those who control all of the critical elements of the system itself, be it data, technology, or standards, and use that control to influence or at least impact the rules of the game itself. Because by doing that, you actually start to become the captain in a way of your own destiny. So that would be the first learning. The second learning is that you should design for scale from day one. That's really, really critical, because if you don't do that, then complexity will basically kill you, right? So the winners here, I believe, are the companies that understand that both, product, processes, and also technology need to be designed as one integrated system. I think that's absolutely critical. Learning number 3 to me would be not to wait for perfection. Because the world today is obviously extremely fast moving, right? And the winners are the companies, I believe, who have the courage and also the competence to scale while they are building the systems, not to wait to have a perfect foundation, but actually start scaling in parallel. So basically, feeling comfortable in building the bridge while you are walking on it. And that's a very important ability that is connected to that, is that you have to be able to learn faster and solve problems quicker than anybody else. And then the last one, again, making the loop back to culture and people, and that's the one that is frankly closest to my heart. The technology alone is not really what drives transformation on a industrial scale, but it's people, and people working within a culture, and it's people who have the courage to try something completely new, to question the status quo every day, basically, and also have the courage to build something that is completely new where most people believe it's impossible. I think that's the secret sauce in the end of the day. If you don't have that, then all of the rest will not work.
Okay, so let's get to Hannover Messe for a bit. From your perspective, what is the one thing visitors should definitely see or pay attention to this year?
Well, I have to be very, very honest. I just, landed here a few hours back, and this was the first place I came to this a lovely bus. So it's just my colleague who has been working around, and I still need to get an update from him what it is that we should look at. But just looking at the different LinkedIn posts, there are so many exciting things out here which I'm really looking forward to dive into with regards to technology, with regards to automation, with regards to AI, with regards to robotics. I think this is an amazing place to not only learn, but also to create truly valuable connections and hopefully also collaborations for the future.
So if you want to hear more from Pablo about On's manufacturing revolution, don't miss his talk at 10 past noon on the center stage in Hall 25 today. Pablo, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
So before we wrap up today's show, we always come back to you with our number of the day. Kathrin, today it's your turn. What number have you got for us?
Well, to be honest, I have 2 numbers that I would like to highlight, if that's okay, I think. So during the trade show week, we have a total amount of 1,000 sessions, including masterclasses, roundtables, etc. So, and if you're interested in innovation, research, and startups, number 11 is an absolute must. In Hall 11, you can see and experience it all.
Kathrin, thank you so much for joining us and for the insights into today's program at Hannover Messe.
Thank you so much, and have a great day here at Hannover Messe.
You too.
Thank you.
That wraps up today's Hannover Messe Daily. Our thanks go to Kathrin Schmidt and Dr. Pablo Erat for their insights. We hope you enjoy an inspiring and productive day, and hope you will be back with us tomorrow morning for more voices and topics from Hannover Messe.